Newsmax TV coverage of Battleground Florida continues live from Miami on this Saturday morning with John Bogman, and we welcome, wouldn't you know, it takes South Florida in a presidential campaign to bring two Western Republicans here. Congresswoman Mia Love of Utah, welcome to our program.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's warm.
It's nice, right? Now, you know, Mia, a lot of folks in Congress, when the presidential primaries start, they say, some of my friends are with candidate Y, some of my friends with candidate X. Right. I'm siding with my friends. In other words, they stay out of it.
Right.
But you are a strong supporter of Marco Rubio.
Yes.
Tell us why you got behind the senator from Florida.
Well, it's actually pretty personal for me, and certainly has a Utah tie to it. First of all, I saw Marco Rubio go out to Utah very early on to show everyone that Utah wasn't a flyover state, that Utah was important to him. And I saw the response that my constituents gave Marco. But here's the personal part for me. I am a daughter of parents who immigrated to the United States. They came here legally. They worked their tails off to make ends meet. They never asked the government for anything. They worked really hard. And I'm a product of that. My dad told me that when he pledged his allegiance to the American flag, not only did he read the Constitution, understand the Constitution, American history, spoke English, but he knew exactly what he was saying when he pledged his allegiance to the American flag, and he meant every word of it. And, you know, when you think about our country and you think about who we are all from all walks of life, and we come to this land of freedom, this land of opportunity, and that message of hope and upward mobility is what really attracts me in Utah.
And your home state of Utah, important, but here you are in the battleground state of Florida. How important is Rubio's home state to his campaign? How important is Florida overall? I
think obviously Florida is going to be huge for Marco. I think this is the area where you do or die. It's winner take all. This is why I decided to take some time, brought my daughter with me so she can see the whole political process and really understand that Florida is going to be big for Marco, and I'm going to do everything I can to help him really promote that positive message.
Beyond the primary, of course, there looms a general election. And John, we remember 2000 and all that went on.
Yeah.
Florida nationally for November.
Yeah.
Your take.
Well, Florida nationally for November, I think the person that is going to be able to beat any of the Democrat candidates is Marco Rubio. This is another one of the biggest reasons why I support Marco. To me, it's about the end game. It's about who can win the general election, and winning for us is everything, because we cannot live under the same policies we've lived in the past 7 years.
When you look at the GOP voters in the states that have voted thus far, and you look at Florida specifically, Marco Rubio's poll numbers not looking great right now. And as a member of Congress, you know how the polls don't always tell the truth all the time. But on the other hand, you look at the national polls and head-to-head matchups, Marco Rubio seems to be the best equipped to beat Hillary Clinton. Why do you think primary voters aren't focusing on the general election? As you said, you want to win the general election. A lot of Republicans want to win the general election, but they don't seem to be focusing on that when they look at the electability of the candidate they're choosing.
Well, you know, a lot of people talk about how incredibly divisive, the political talks are, and people are focused on that. It's more micro than it is, big picture, because we're independent thinkers. I mean, even
if you pooled all those independent thinkers and asked them, what is it critically important that we do in November, they would say it's beat whoever the Democratic nominee is, likely Hillary Clinton.
Well,
and they seem to not be choosing the candidate who does best in those matchups.
Well, if you look at all of the polls that talk about electability, Marco's always number one in electability.
But that's not a selling point for primary voters.
Well, that's why I'm here. I'm trying to say, look at the big picture here. Understand that we are not going to we cannot live under the same policies we've lived for the past 7 years. We will have dug ourselves a hole that is so deep that we will never be able to climb out of it. This is do or die for the American people. I'm not talking about Hispanic Americans, Haitian Americans. I'm talking about combining us all as Americans and realize that that's what we are labeled as, first and foremost, Americans.
And when you look at the collective numbers in this polling, the closest I've seen has Senator Rubio behind by 6 points. The Real Clear Politics average as of yesterday was 14.7 points. That's a hill to climb. Yeah. Can he do it?
I think he can. I think, Florida has shown that they they could step aside, not drink the Kool-Aid, and really take a look at who is going to be the best candidate for the American people and for them. This is, again, Marco Rubio on foreign policy. You saw the debate. He's got substance. He is really issues oriented. And first and foremost, he takes himself out of it and puts the American people first. This is not about him. It's time for us to stop telling people to trust Washington and start telling Washington to trust the American people with their lives.
Let me ask you about another major American city. Not Miami, not Washington, D.C., but Chicago last night.
Oh, yeah.
The Trump rally canceled. We understand the Kasich campaign has come out blaming Donald Trump. You heard the mayor of Miami hold Donald Trump directly responsible. Your take on what happened last night in Chicago?
I'm actually not going to blame Donald Trump. I'm going to blame Barack Obama and the divisive policies that we've lived. The reason why people are so angry is because of the current administration. That's the reason why people are so angry. They're tired of living under these oppressive policies. The policies that have vowed to hurt the most vulnerable among us. The policies that have vowed to help the poorest among us have actually hurt the poorest among us, the most vulnerable among us. People are working really hard. They're paying high taxes, and they're not able to make ends meet. They're not able to save money. They're not able to leave a future for their children that's better than today. Than theirs. So this is you're seeing this anger come out. And what we need is, we don't need an angry leader. We need someone who is actually going to go in and give people some roadmap of how they're going to make things better. Not just platitudes, not just promises, not just political spin, but a real roadmap on how we are going to change the policies that benefit hardworking Americans again.
And Congresswoman Mia Love, we know you're hard at work on behalf of Marco Rubio. It's great to have you here at the Versailles restaurant.